The Independent Women's Voice launching the Riley Gaines Stand with Women Scorecard. It's happening today. It'll rate every candidate for federal office on whether they intend to support and protect female opportunities, not just in sports. Here with more, Independent Women's Voice ambassador and host of the Gaines for Girls podcast on Outkick.com, Riley Gaines, and Trump transition team member, former Congresswoman from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard. Welcome to both of you. Riley, where'd you get this idea?
Well, Brian, always good to be on with you. I got this idea, it's something I've been thinking about for the past 2 years now. It's unbelievable that we live in a time, the year 2024, where we have to ask our elected leaders if they can even define the word woman. But unfortunately, that's the reality that we're living in. So as you described, I've partnered with Independent Women's Voice to launch the Riley Gaines Stand with Women Scorecard. As you said, it merely just scores incumbents and those who are candidates running for federal office on if they stand with women. We score this on how they have historically voted on the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, the Title IX Congressional Review Act, for example. Those, again, who are running if they have vowed to sign the Stand with Women commitment. Really simple stuff, nothing complicated. National polling consistently shows that over 70% of Americans agree that on the women's sports issue, for example, that men don't belong in women's sports. So why is there such a stark contrast on Capitol Hill? Right.
You have candidates that have signed the Stand with Women commitment publicly. Then you have congressional criteria for congressmen and women and one for Senate, too. Tulsi, as a transition team member and a key surrogate for the Trump team, how do you guys view this?
I mean, this is an essential piece of information that voters need to have before they start heading to the polls. We know early voting has already begun, and I think there's a lot of Democrats who don't want voters to know that they don't, in fact, stand with women, no matter how much they say they do. They brush off this issue as though, oh, this only affects a couple of people. It's not that serious. You shouldn't pay attention to it. But we're seeing more and more young women and girls who are directly impacted by this in not only impacting their ability to compete in sports on a fair and level playing field, which was the intent of Title IX in the first place, but it affects their future opportunities as well. When I was in Congress, Brian, I introduced a bipartisan piece of legislation. I was a Democrat at that time with Senator, then Representative Mark Wayne Mullen, called the Protect Women's Sports Act. And it very simply clarified and upheld the intent of Title IX. I was excoriated by Democrats for doing that. This is the kind of thing that voters need to know that Kamala Harris and the Democrats of today stand for against women and girls.
All right, Riley, is it frustrating for you that this has not come up on the debate stage? Has it not come up in a conversation? The vice president has not been asked. Is it okay for you for boys to play in girls' sports? Is it okay with you not to tell your parents if you want to transition? Is it okay that you are, in some states, they don't ask you what if your kid changed pronouns?
Beyond frustrating, Brian. But I think Tulsi hit the nail on the head. What we have seen from Democratic leadership is they desperately want to run from this issue. They know this is not a winning issue. They know this issue does not pull in their favor, and they know their voting record. For example, Senator John Tester in Montana, who has voted against protecting women and girls in sports. Yep. To me, that doesn't represent Montana values. And if that base knew that, and of course this is a candidate who offered to pay female collegiate athletes for their endorsement, if Montana knew that, I believe they would be appalled. He knows that. I know that. The American public knows that.
And Tulsi, you would think there's only one issue that women care about, and that's abortion, right?
Yeah. That's what Democrats want people to believe. But when we look at the issues that concern not only women, but the fathers of young girls, the mothers of young girls, people who are directly being impacted by this, what to speak of the broader issue here, Brian, which really is that the Democrats are rejecting the existence of something that is objectively and biologically, scientifically true. Right. It just exposes their insanity of their positions on so many different issues. There's a huge contrast in this that transcends partisan politics at the top of the ticket between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and in so many of these critical federal races for the U.S. Senate and Congress. So I'm glad that Riley is leading the charge here to have this scorecard so voters know before they head out and cast their votes.
Transfix is great. It's right now on Fox Nation. Check it out. You see the little bug on the bottom of the screen. But my exit question, and what Riley Gaines hosting is a great job. But, Congresswoman, I got to ask you, have you spoke to the Trump team about, should they win? I know you're a transition team, that you'd serve in the cabinet if asked?
That we are all very, very focused on winning this election, getting out and reaching and speaking the truth about Kamala Harris's record and Donald Trump's record to voters. That will be an important task that will come after Election Day.
All right. That's not a no. That means that you'd be relatively open to it, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. Hey, by the way, visit RileyGainesScorecard.com for more. Thanks to both of you in the morning. It's great to see you both.
Thanks, Brian.
All right.